A team of heavily armed and highly trained hitmen invade a summer house. Their target, a government official named Serge Schuster. Serge, already aware of their presence, attacks one of the hitmen with a wooden brush before making a run for his garden shed. But as he gets to the door, the hitmen take him down. Suddenly Serge's body is dragged inside, leaving the hitmen confused. They carefully enter the shed, but they didn't prepare for one person, the gardener Leo, who displays some high-level combat skills, taking out the entire team. While he may seem like just an ordinary gardener, Leo is actually a former government special ops assassin, one of the deadliest. Just a few hours earlier, the Matignon list, a secret government hit list, is sent out from the office of the Prime Minister and handed to a courier. Its destination? A team of top-tier hitmen, the Angels of Death, going by the codenames Phobius, Esmeralda, and Quasimodo, who are supported by foot soldiers known as Hornets. As the courier nears their base, he meets in a fatal accident. At the summer home, Serge is on a very important video call when his wife Mia interrupts him. He promised he wouldn't be working. Plus, to make things worse, his teen daughter Alice keeps waking their baby Charlotte with her terrible singing.
Get off the stage, you're underage, time to disengage, you're all go.
Mia has had enough, so she demands that Serge wrap up his call and take the baby so that she can get herself a well-needed bath. Serge promises to be done soon, managing to get her out of the office for some silence. The courier's body ends up at the local morgue, where forensic pathologist Dr. Dominique Roma works. Serge is wrapping up a business call when Roma calls him regarding a strange list he has found that happens to have Serge's name on it. Serge finds this strange, but from the description of the list, it's coming out of the Ministry of Finance, so Serge suspects it's a short list of possible finance ministers, completely unaware of the danger he is in. He then requests a picture of the list and is disappointed to see his name last. Alice creeps up to the garden shed, observing and recording Leo inside. As he changes his shirt, she sees the many scars all over his body and an eagle tattoo on his chest, a hint that Leo is way more than he lets on. Meanwhile, the Angels of Death kill Dr. Roma by injecting him with a substance to cause a heart attack after tracking down the list. They discover that he has sent the list to Serge, so he is now their primary target. They start heading towards Serge's location, so Phobius orders 2 squads of Hornets to meet them there. Mia manages to put Charlotte to bed for a split second until Alice wakes her again with her obnoxious singing, so she gives Charlotte her iPod before going to take a bath. The Angels of Death decide to stop to pick up the first name on the list, since it's on the way to Serge. After wrapping up, they start heading to Serge, who is currently taking a bath, unaware he's about to fight for his life. He hears reports of the death of the first name on the list, but he thinks nothing of it, just him being one step closer to being finance minister. Leo is first to spot trouble when the 2 Hornet teams land on the beach nearby. The maid is first to get tranquilized.
Their thing coming. Private property means.
Then Alice is next, which isn't so bad. Serge hears her scream from the bath and gets concerned, so he goes to check what's happening when he spots the hit team inside his home. He thinks it's a homejacking and wants to call the cops, but all signals are being blocked. He sends Mia to keep Charlotte safe, grabs a wooden wash brush as his weapon. Here he runs into a lone hitman and attacks him before taking off towards the garden shed. Mia is hiding inside a closet when 2 hitmen pass close by, but one picks up a sound. He comes to investigate, so Mia attacks him. But she is tranquilized before she can escape. Serge is hit and falls into the garden shed, and in his delusional state, he watches as Leo skillfully takes out the hitmen. He wakes a while later still groggy, so Leo gives him a shot of adrenaline to fully wake him up. He starts to freak out as he thinks his family is dead, but Leo explains they're just knocked out. Meanwhile, the Hornets report that they have everyone, all except the king and the pawn, so the Angels of Death quicken their pace. Serge learns that they're actually hiding out underneath his garden, inside a crypt the resistance used during the war. He still thinks the hit team are there to rob him, but Leo recognizes them as government special forces soldiers. He urges Serge to remember if anything strange happened lately, and Serge recalls the list and the death of one of the names, the only thing out of the ordinary, but to Leo this is far from ordinary. 5 names including his, 1 name already eliminated, and as he goes over the details, Serge finally realizes the list is actually the Matignon. Realizing this, he fears that they will all be killed, but Leo tells him he's already dead. The angels of death finally arrive and plan to get this operation wrapped up as quickly as possible. Serge still fears for his family's safety, but Leo knows they will be safe until he is captured. The hitmen need their deaths to appear natural, so as not to raise suspicion. As they try to figure out why Serge's name is on the list, he recalls receiving an email regarding the discovery of the Matignon, which he forwarded to the first name on the list. It all makes sense to him now. This must be the reason he is being targeted. He comes up with a plan. With Leo's help, he will retrieve the file from his computer, which he will use as leverage for their lives. The angels of death find their dead hitmen inside the gardening shed. One man is barely left breathing and tries to warn them about the gardener, but dies before he can get the word out. Leo prepares some gardening tools as weapons. Serge still doubts his skills, thinking he's just a gardener and his tools are useless against trained killers, but Leo just ignores him. It is Serge who has no idea who he is. Quasimodo primes an explosive, planning to cover the murders in an explosion. Leo and Serge get to the garden, which is flooded with Hornet operatives. One unfortunate operative smoking a cigarette stomps it out in Leo's flowers, so Leo takes him out with gardening shears, then snatches another watching the boats. The hitmen soon spot one of the boats speeding away, and suspecting that it's Serge, they send a team of hitmen after the boat. Meanwhile, Serge breaks into his own office while Leo keeps watch outside. He finds the file, but realizing he doesn't have a flash drive, he sends the file to Charlotte's iPod. One merc suddenly enters the office to check, but they manage to hide in time. Ignoring Leo's warnings to stick with him, Serge goes off alone to find the iPod, planning to depend on his 7 years of karate lessons. He passes Mia, Alice, and the maid all passed out and enters Charlotte's room, only to find her hidden at the top of the closet. He manages to get her down barely. 2 Hornets find him there, but Leo shows up and takes them out. Phoebus soon learns that the boat was a diversion, so he alerts Esmeralda and Quasimodo to set up a perimeter and find Serge. Esmeralda starts moving with his rifle. Meanwhile, Leo is still fighting off mercenaries. Serge rests Charlotte down to help. Charlotte ends up being flipped into the air, but at that moment Esmeralda bursts into the room and catches her. He hands her off to Serge, then tries going after him, but Charlotte is also a paid actor and pukes in his face before Leo throws a blade into his back. Serge and Leo quickly escape the room with Charlotte and slip into the wine cellar, where Leo unveils a secret passage leading back to the secret cave. From what he saw, he can clearly see that Leo is not just a gardener, but Leo just ignores him and continues leading the way. An injured, puke-covered Esmeralda returns to his colleagues, telling them about the stranger with Serge who kicked his ass. From his moves, he isn't just an ordinary man, so Quasimodo plans to gather some DNA to try and identify him. When Leo and Serge get back to the cave, they realize that Charlotte has pooped. They can clean her, but they'll need diapers, so Leo suggests Serge give up his soft silky robes to create a makeshift diaper. Serge initially refuses, but Leo convinces him as there are some old clothes laying around. A while later Serge steps out looking like he should be drawn before the Hague for war crimes. Meanwhile, the Hornets are having no luck tracking down where Serge and the stranger are hiding out. Serge makes the diaper for Charlotte, which he's quite proud of until it falls right off. Leo gives it a shot, and Serge doesn't think he can do much better, but he actually does, leaving Serge feeling jealous. Leo then takes Charlotte's iPod with a plan in mind. Mia and Alice end up waking up and start yapping Esmeralda's ear off, demanding answers. Phoebus demands to know who else is in the house, and Mia tells them no one until Alice tells them about the gardener Leo. They end up finding out Leo's full name, Leonidas Apastigai, but that's all they can find as Leo's file is locked. Down in the caves, Serge has had enough of Leo beating around the bush and wants to know who he really is. Leo considers telling him everything but changes his mind, unable to bring himself to. The hitmen eventually find the secret entrance in the wine cellar. Phoebus orders the men to flush out the 2 rats, but he only wants Serge alive. Quasimodo leads a team of men into the tunnels, but one of the hitmen trips a makeshift alarm Leo had set up, alerting him to their presence, and he quickly turns out the lights. The hitmen switch to night vision, their red lasers cutting through the dark. Suddenly one of them is cut down by a hidden scythe, revealing the entire tunnel is booby-trapped. Despite this, they push on. Quasimodo trips another trap, but manages to dodge, leaving another mercenary's head to be chomped off by a bear trap. Serge is trying to keep Charlotte from crying when Quasimodo comes across their position. He hears a sound and comes close, but Leo hits him with a flashlight. Both end up pulling blades and start slashing at each other, both dodging skillfully. Serge sees Leo's guns laying nearby and decides to help Leo out, but he ends up shooting Leo with a tranquilizer dart. Quasimodo goes to grab Serge, but Leo gathers himself and stabs him in the leg with a blade. Despite being severely weakened, Leo still manages to take Quasimodo down and punch his face in before the tranq forces him to stop. Luckily, Serge manages to hit him with adrenaline, stopping him from passing out. The hitmen are running out of time, so Esmeralda suggests they eliminate the family and blame the gardener for their deaths, and Phoebus thinks it's a good plan. Leo and Serge escape into the forest, nowhere left inside the home for them to hide. Quasimodo returns to the group all beaten and bloodied. He tells them about his encounter with the gardener, and though he managed to injure him, he warns that he is extremely dangerous and skilled. Growing impatient, Phoebus demands that they speed up cracking Leo's file, then orders everyone to switch to live bullets, ready to take things seriously. Seeing all they've been through together, Leo feels the urge to tell Serge who he really is. Turns out he grew up in the summer home with a very violent father, who ended up taking his mother's life. Just the thought of her brings him to tears, as he feels guilty for not being there for her. It's because of this he keeps to himself and dedicates his time to his flowers and nature. Serge pities him hearing this, and offers him a place in his own family, reassuring him that he doesn't have to be alone. Suddenly gunshots begin going off in the distance, and Serge is convinced that his family has been executed, but from their firing pattern, Leo can tell they just want to talk. Phoebus then calls out to Leo over the radios. A screaming Alice is then dragged over to him to be used as bait, but Esmeralda knocks her out. Then using the momentum he slaps one of his own men and the still sleeping maid. Hearing Alice screaming really gets under Serge's skin, and he wants to go save his family, but Leo warns that's exactly what he wants. Phoebus then warns Leo over the radios to hand over Schuster and Charlotte, or he will be taking out a family member every 15 minutes. They decide to target the maid first. She tries convincing them that she isn't a family member, but this doesn't matter to the men. Quasimodo tries stopping Esmeralda from doing her any harm, but Phoebus goes ahead and eliminates her with a blade on the front lawn. This seems to bother Quasimodo. Phoebus then explains to Leo how they will frame him for the maid's death, and the others will soon be next. Serge has had enough. He hands Charlotte to Leo before injecting himself with 2 vials of adrenaline and storming off towards the house before Leo can stop him. Serge walks into his office to confront the angels of death, closing the door behind him like something is about to go down. He scans the room, then sets his watch like he's the equalizer. Serge then begins to systematically take down the 3, his martial arts skills on full display. But in a sudden twist, Serge turns out to be hallucinating. The angels of death look at him like he's crazy, but when he grabs a gun they dive for cover as he sprays the room with bullets. Serge then runs out of the room like a maniac before Leo pulls him to safety. Leo radios to Phoebus telling him Serge wants to make an exchange, his life for his family's. He wants to talk to them first, so Phoebus agrees. Serge gives Mia and Alice a tearful goodbye, telling them he wants them continue living and raise Charlotte to remember him as a hero who sacrificed himself for his family. While Mia and Alice are in tears, Serge is just putting on an act, his political experience on full display. He plans to hand over himself, but Leo knows they cannot trust the mercenaries to keep their word, so he has another plan in place. Quasimodo manages to crack Leo's file, and what they find changes everything. Phoebus radios back to Leo, calling him Sergeant Bohm, and Leo is no stranger to him. Phoebus was Leo's commander in the army, and Leo was his finest soldier, until he disobeyed a direct order. Leo notes that the angels of death were like his brothers, but he could not sit back and just watch them kill innocent people. Turns out Leo eliminated his entire team when he turned his back on them, but while Phoebus calls him a traitor, Leo thinks it's justice. A while later, Leo and Serge surprise a lone hornet and steal his clothes. The merc returns in just his boxers, telling Phoebus they cannot win, but Phoebus beats his face in calling him a deserter. Esmeralda goes hunting for Serge and Leo, but Leo surprises and disarms him all with Charlotte attached to him. Esmeralda pulls a blade and attacks, not caring about the baby. Forced to protect Charlotte, Leo is soon overpowered and Esmeralda stabs him in the shoulder. He goes for his gun, but But Serge cannot watch Leo be killed and attacks Esmeralda, causing him to fall on his own gun. Quasimodo leaves Alice and Mia alone, warning them to stay put. But once he leaves the room, Mia instructs Alice to try finding a signal and calling for help while she keeps an eye out for Serge. Quasimodo finds Esmeralda's body. Leo and Serge walk out to face Phoebus. He wants a throwdown, disarming himself, so Leo hands Charlotte to Serge and drops his utility belt. Leo plans to put a stop to Phoebus once and for good. The two then face off, both fast and strong. But Phoebus is a powerhouse, tanking some heavy shots and overpowering Leo for a second. But Leo turns the tables using a cactus and poison ivy vines to incapacitate Phoebus. Phoebus then pulls a hidden gun from his boot, but in a twist, Quasimodo shoots Phoebus, disarming him. So Leo finishes him off, beating his face in with a pistol, but stops himself short of killing him when he hears Charlotte's cries. Quasimodo could no longer go along with Phoebus, and Leo urges him to find a better way like he did. The entire family soon reunites. They are leaving the next morning, but Leo chooses to stay behind, as this is the only home he's ever known. They say their goodbyes and the family leave the home, but Leo soon realizes that Phoebus is not dead and has escaped the island on another boat. Serge and the family are driving on the mainland. Mia has captured video of Phoebus revealing the details of the Matignon list, which they plan to blow the plot wide open. Suddenly Phoebus appears behind them in a car, intent on taking Serge out, but Leo isn't far behind on a dirt bike racing to catch up. Serge does good staying ahead of Phoebus, giving Leo enough time to catch up. Phoebus tries shooting, but Leo hits him with a powerful kick. His car comes to a halt, but he disappears before Leo gets to the car. Phoebus appears from the side holding Leo at gunpoint. Serge then steps up beside Leo, refusing to leave him to his fate. He manages to distract Phoebus long enough for Leo to appear behind him and finish him off with some kicks. The family thank Leo once more, but without many words he just rides away back to the island. That's it for today's recap. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more insane movie stories. YouTube thinks you'll love the video on screen, so click to enjoy.